Have you ever arrived at an airport in another country and suddenly forgot all your English? The announcements sound fast, the questions feel unexpected, and even simple conversations at a hotel or with a taxi driver can feel stressful. But what if you could travel with confidence, understanding exactly what people say and knowing exactly how to respond? In this episode, you'll learn real-life English for airports, hotels, and tourist situations, the kind of language you actually need when you travel. So before your next trip, let's make sure your English is ready to go wherever you are. Hello, and welcome to your YouTube channel, Learn English Lab. Today's podcast topic name is English for Traveling Abroad, Airport, Hotel, and Tourist Advanced Vocabulary.
Oh, I'm genuinely so thrilled to be unpacking this with you today because, what we're really dissecting here is this psychological and, linguistic phenomenon that catches so many capable people totally off guard.
Yeah, that is like the perfect way to frame it, because the core mission of our deep dive today is to build a really specific bridge.
Right, a bridge.
Exactly. Like, think about your own language journey, right? Mm-hmm. On one side, you have what I call textbook English.
The safe zone.
Yeah, the safe zone. It's this highly structured realm where you might write like a flawless IELTS essay, or, walk into a corporate interview and confidently debate macroeconomic policies.
Right, because you have the grammar, you have the vocabulary, you have the intellect for it.
Exactly. But then, and here is where it gets tricky, on the other side of that bridge, there's the real, fast-moving, incredibly messy, lived language of travel.
Oh, it's so messy.
Right. It's the language of that gate agent at Chicago O'Hare who is, frantically trying to board 200 people in 15 minutes.
Or the shuttle driver in Sydney just casually throwing slang at you over traffic noise.
Yes. So today, we're going to close the gap between those two worlds.
And that gap is, honestly, the entire ballgame. Because travel English is not just regular English that happens to take place in an airport.
No, it's something else entirely.
It really is. It operates as an entirely distinct vocabulary ecosystem. Advanced learners often find themselves freezing up, and their knee-jerk reaction is to blame their grammar.
Oh, totally. They think, my English just isn't good enough, I need to study more.
Exactly. But that is almost never the root cause. They freeze because they lack these highly specific conversational scripts that native speakers are just running on pure autopilot.
Let's actually dig into the mechanics of that fluency freeze, because I guarantee you, everyone listening right now knows exactly what that feels like.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has been there.
Right. You study a language for a decade. You step up to the immigration counter at London Heathrow after an 8-hour flight.
Exhausted, usually.
So exhausted. Oh. And the officer mumbles something fast, clipped, and casual, and suddenly your mind just blue screens.
Right. You're just nodding and guessing context.
Just praying you don't say the wrong thing and get sent to secondary screening. So why does that happen?
Well, to understand it, we have to look at the cognitive reality of travel. Yes. These interactions, they don't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
Travel interactions are almost entirely these high-stakes first impression moments. Mm-hmm. And they occur when you are, frankly, fundamentally compromised.
Compromise is a great word for it.
I mean, you're jet-lagged, your circadian rhythm is thrown off, you're physically tired from hauling luggage, plus there's that baseline hum of anxiety.
Oh yeah, navigating an unfamiliar space is stressful.
And you're surrounded by native speakers, moving fast, talking fast, and they just unconsciously expect you to keep up.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy. I was thinking about this earlier, and the best way to visualize it is to think about your brain like a computer's RAM.
Oh, I like that. The short-term working memory.
Exactly. When you're in a quiet classroom, your brain's RAM has plenty of space to process vocabulary and translate grammar. But when you're traveling...
It's totally maxed out.
Maxed out. You're using massive amounts of processing power just to figure out where the baggage claim is, hold your coat, calculate a currency exchange.
All while trying not to lose your passport.
Right. So when a gate agent throws a totally unexpected, slang-heavy question at you, your brain literally does not have the processing power left to translate it. The system crashes.
That analogy perfectly captures the cognitive overload. You might know the word boarding, right? It's standard vocabulary.
Sure, everyone knows boarding.
But do you understand the implicit instructions when an agent in Dallas rapid fires over a fuzzy loudspeaker, we're now boarding all rows. If you're in zone 3, you're welcome to go ahead and line up.
Oh man, that is so dense.
It is. It's packed with procedural vocabulary and social cues that textbooks just do not cover.
It's a complete sublanguage, and the consequences of not knowing it are surprisingly heavy. It goes way beyond just feeling awkward.
So true. It actually impacts your trip.
Exactly. Let's look at the story of Priya. So Priya is this young professional who relocated to Toronto for work, right?
Right, and her parents were flying in from overseas to visit her.
Yeah, and to treat them, she booked this really nice room at a luxury hotel downtown.
So it starts as a standard hospitality scenario. They arrive after a long flight, exhausted.
And what happens?
Well, the front desk clerk checks the system and apologizes, saying the room isn't quite ready yet. Just a standard hiccup.
It happens all the time.
Right. And to make up for it, the clerk leans in and offers them what he calls a complimentary late checkout the following day.
Now here is where the sublanguage trap totally springs. Her father is a smart guy, good English, but he didn't recognize the specific word complimentary.
Because in standard classes, you just learn the word free.
Exactly. So his brain starts trying to deduce the meaning. He assumes complimentary sounds fancy, like a premium upgrade.
Which logically implies an extra charge to him.
Right. And not wanting to burden his daughter with a higher bill, he politely but firmly declines the offer.
Which is such a shame because he completely missed out on a genuinely free perk that would let them sleep in.
So why does a moment like that matter so much?
Well, if we pull back and look at the psychology there, it reveals the true cost of the fluency freeze. It's not just about losing out on a few extra hours in a hotel.
Right, it's deeper than that.
It's about the subtle psychological toll that accumulates over a trip. When you don't catch these specific environmental terms instinctively, you're forced to make rapid decisions based on incomplete understanding.
And then you miss opportunities. You accidentally agree to things you didn't want or decline things that would have helped.
Exactly. And over time, that constant friction just chips away at your sense of belonging. It's this slow erosion of confidence.
Yeah, instead of embracing the adventure, you start dreading every single new interaction.
You start navigating defensively, feeling like a permanent outsider just trying to survive logistics.
But, and this is a fascinating twist, memorizing the vocabulary is actually only half the battle.
Yes, a crucial point.
Because the other half is knowing where geographically and culturally you are attempting to use that vocabulary.
And this is a monumental pivot point for anyone looking to master travel English, because the language might technically be the same across the English-speaking world.
The dictionary definitions don't change.
Right, but the tone, the social expectations, the unspoken rules, they shift dramatically depending on which country you're standing in.
Wait, let me stop you right there because this is a massive paradigm shift. Are you saying that if I use perfectly polite, flawless textbook English everywhere, I could actually be offending people?
Without a doubt.
Or making things incredibly awkward?
Oh, absolutely. Because fluency isn't just grammatical accuracy, it's cultural calibration.
Cultural calibration, I like that.
If you apply a very direct American style of communication at a traditional British hotel, you might come across as aggressive.
Or rude.
Very rude. Conversely, if you use highly indirect British phrasing at a busy American airport counter, the staff might think you're being evasive or wasting their time.
Wow. Okay, so understanding these codes is the dividing line between just translating words and actually communicating. Okay, we need to map this out for the listener. Let's break down these shifting codes across 4 distinct English-speaking worlds, starting with the U.S.
Right. The United States.
In the U.S., the baseline style in hospitality seems to be built on this foundation of friendly, highly efficient directness.
Exactly. The American service industry is driven by 2 parallel engines: speed and approachability.
Speed and approachability, got it.
Americans value total clarity. They want to know exactly what you need immediately, but they wrap it in a very warm, casual energy.
So give us an example.
Well, say you're at a hotel in Los Angeles and want to extend your stay. You would never use a formal, elaborate politeness ritual.
No slow buildup.
All right, no buildup. You just walk up, smile, and say, "Hey, I was hoping to add another night to my stay. Any chance you've got availability?"
And the clerk responds with that exact same casual speed, right? Like, let me pull that up for you. Yeah, looks like we can swing that.
Exactly. Does the same rate work for you? Followed by very bright, "You're all set."
Notice the phrasing there, right? Any chance you've got availability. Looks like we can swing that. It's highly colloquial, but super efficient.
And what's vital to understand here is that being overly formal in the U.S. can actually backfire.
Really? How so?
Well, if you say, "Excuse me, sir, I would like to formally request an extension of my accommodation for an additional 24 hours.
Oh, man, that sounds so stiff.
Right. You're suddenly creating a social wall. It signals you don't feel comfortable, which makes the American clerk feel uncomfortable too.
I see exactly what you mean. It creates distance. But then you fly across the Atlantic to the UK and the rules flip entirely.
Oh, entirely. In the UK, understatement and extreme indirectness are the governing laws.
They govern everything. Let's picture checking into a boutique hotel in Edinburgh.
Right. You get your key, go up, and discover the room is way smaller than the photo suggested. It's cramped.
A native British guest would never dream of bluntly stating the problem at the desk.
Never. They use this incredible tool called hedging language.
Hedging language? Give me an example.
A British guest would go down and say something like, "Hi there, it's a lovely room, really." I wonder, though, is there anything perhaps slightly more spacious available? No worries at all, if not.
Oh, wow. Let's dissect the padding in that sentence. I wonder, perhaps, slightly more, no worries if not.
It's buried under 4 layers of politeness. Neither person directly acknowledges a complaint is even being made.
But the receptionist understands this perfectly.
Of course, they speak the same sublanguage. They'd reply, "Let me just have a quick look for you. I think we might be able to sort something out."
Now, imagine a learner making the logical mistake of saying, "This room is very small, I want a bigger one."
In an American context, maybe a bit blunt, but in a British context,
It feels demanding, aggressive even, because it strips away all that social lubrication.
you violated the unspoken contract of British politeness.
Okay, let's take a long flight down to Australia. The vibe shifts entirely again, right?
Yes, moving toward a relaxed, almost aggressively informal warmth.
Aggressively informal, I love that. Picture walking into a hostel in Brisbane.
The staff isn't going to say, "Good afternoon, how may I assist you?"
No way. They're going to look up and say, "G-Day, you've got a booking with us, yeah." Legend. Chuck your bags up there and come back down if you need anything.
Calling a guest a legend, it throws people off.
I was so thrown off the first time I heard that in Sydney. But you realize it's not flattery.
Right. What's fascinating here is that it's just standard Australian affirmation. It means great or awesome, but it does heavy lifting to establish equality.
Equality between staff and guest. So polished language feels out of place.
Totally out of place. In America, extreme formality feels stiff. In Australia, it feels like you're actively rejecting their invitation to be mates.
Because Australian hospitality is so egalitarian, they don't like rigid class distinctions.
Exactly. They want to relate to you on a human level immediately.
Which brings us to Canada, which seems to have engineered this specific middle ground.
It is a distinctive blend. If you check into a hotel in Vancouver, it might sound like, "Welcome. So we've got you in a harbor view room. And just so you know, breakfast is included downstairs, and we've also got a complimentary shuttle if you're interested."
So it's warm, like the American style, but highly structured and proactive.
They anticipate your needs without being pushy. Plus, there's a huge multicultural sensitivity baked into Canadian travel spaces.
Right, because cities like Toronto and Vancouver are so diverse, service staff are used to interacting with guests from all linguistic backgrounds.
Exactly, which makes their communication style feel very inclusive and clearly articulated.
Okay, so if the culture dictates the style of communication, the specific environment dictates the speed. And nowhere is faster than the airport.
The modern airport is undoubtedly the most linguistically dense travel environment a person will ever navigate.
It really is. Every loudspeaker announcement, every digital sign, every rapid-fire exchange, it's all loaded with specialized, highly contextual vocabulary.
And the challenge isn't just knowing the individual dictionary words. You know the word arrival. You know departure.
Right, but the real test is how these words combine and are literally weaponized under pressure.
Exactly. It's real-time, high-pressure communication. You don't have time to pull out a translation app when the doors are closing.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I looked into the history of airport language, and it was deliberately engineered.
Oh, absolutely. Aviation English originated as a highly standardized international system. Safety demands precision.
Right, planes need to talk to towers without ambiguity. But the customer-facing layer is this bizarre hybrid.
A hybrid of the rigid military efficiency and warm hospitality language.
Which explains why an agent will say, "We'd like to invite our pre-board passengers to begin boarding at their convenience."
It's a precise crowd control command wrapped in a courteous invitation. It manages the crowd while keeping the illusion of luxury.
Let's put the listener right in the middle of a high-stakes scenario. Let's go to Chicago O'Hare.
Okay, O'Hare. High stress.
We have a traveler, Marcus, standing at the rebooking desk. His connection to San Francisco just got canceled due to a snowstorm.
He's stressed. There's a long, angry line behind him.
And the agent is typing furiously, looks at Marcus, and delivers this densely packed update.
She says, so it looks like your connection's tight now. I can reroute you through Denver with a 90-minute layover, or I can put you on standby for the direct that leaves in 2 hours.
Let's freeze that moment. Reroute you. Layover. Standby. Direct. In 5 seconds, 4 distinct logistical concepts.
Incredibly dense. But Marcus is fluent in the ecosystem. He responds in that exact collaborative register.
Right. He says, I'll take the Denver routing. A layover's fine as long as I make it tonight.
That exchange is a masterclass.
Yeah.
Contrast that with an unprepared learner under the exact same stress.
They might just say, I want to go to San Francisco. Can you change my flight?
Which gets the basic geographical point across, sure.
The agent knows where they want to go.
But it completely misses the collaborative register. And this difference matters deeply for the actual outcome of your trip.
Why? Because of how staff perceive you.
Yes. When you use the proper terminology, routing, layover, itinerary, you're signaling competence to the agent.
You're showing them you understand their system. You speak their language.
Exactly. Competent-sounding travelers often receive better, faster service. You become a partner in solving the problem rather than a panicked passenger they have to manage.
So surviving the airport gets you to your destination. But the true test of your nuanced English happens after you hand over your credit card at the hotel.
People severely underestimate the hotel phase. They prepare for that 2-minute check-in interaction.
Right, I have a reservation under Smith.
But the real complexity begins after you get your key. It's the micro-interactions.
Yeah, asking about pool hours, getting concierge recommendations, and the hardest one, polite complaints.
Oh, complaining is an art form.
How do you complain without sounding like a jerk, but still actually get your problem solved?
Let's look at a classic problem. Melbourne, Australia, midsummer.
Eh.
Your room's air conditioning is broken.
Sweltering.
Yeah.
You call the front desk.
A native speaker, attuned to the Australian culture, might say, hey, the aircon's playing up a bit in my room. Any chance someone could take a look when they get a sec?
That is brilliant phrasing, playing up a bit when they get a sec. It's so casual, but the underlying message is crystal clear.
Now, compare that to a hotel in Calgary, Canada. The native speaker there might say, hi there, I'm down in room 412. The AC doesn't seem to be working quite right. Would it be possible to have someone come take a look?
Slightly more structured, a bit more formal, but still very warm.
Crucially, both speakers are hitting what linguists call a middle register. Polite, but unambiguous. Friendly, but expectant.
This is where learners fall into a trap, right? I've totally done this. What are the two extremes?
The first extreme is being overly blunt. A learner might say, the air conditioning is broken. Fix it.
Grammatically perfect, but pragmatically aggressive.
It puts staff on the defensive. The second extreme is being overly apologetic.
Like, I am so incredibly sorry to bother you. Maybe if it isn't too much trouble, someone could check my AC.
Exactly. That undermines your position. You're a paying guest. The middle register is the sweet spot.
Finding that middle register is key. And speaking of the front desk, there's another subtle trap I find fascinating. I call it the anything else trap.
Oh, this is a perfect example of how the same language carries different intentions based on geography.
Right. In an American hotel, the clerk usually ends the check-in by asking, is there anything else I can help you with today?
Which is a genuine, open-ended invitation.
But in the UK, they're much more likely to ask, will that be all?
And here's where the friction occurs. To an American ear, will that be all sounds incredibly abrupt.
It sounds dismissive, like a Victorian butler trying to rush you out.
But in the British context, it is perfectly polite hospitality phrasing. It just means the transaction is complete.
So if you assume the American norm applies in London, you'll feel insulted for no reason.
Exactly. It all comes down to decoding the environment.
Okay, mastering the hotel lets you rest. But mastering the language of the streets, the tourist encounters, that turns you from a tourist into a traveler.
Tourist interactions are heavily underestimated. They aren't just transactional data exchanges.
Right, it's not just, where is the museum?
They are complex social performances. The language you choose dictates the experience you unlock.
Let's set the scene. You're in Toronto, in the Distillery District. You pop into an independent art gallery.
And the local owner asks you, are you visiting or are you based here?
Based here. That's a great modern way to ask where someone lives.
And it's an invitation to connect. A fluent response might be, I'm just in town for the week, actually, but I've been trying to hit as many galleries as I can. This neighborhood's been a real find.
A real find. That phrase is gold. It signals genuine enthusiasm. It tells the local you value their city.
Compare that to a learner who just literally answers, I am visiting. This area is very nice.
It's fine, but it's flat. It closes the conversational door.
Using a real find creates immediate rapport. It shows you have taste.
Let's look at another one. The Brisbane hostel scenario. A traveler asks the desk guy for dinner recommendations, specifically somewhere not too touristy.
And the Australian replies, yeah, nah, don't go down to South Bank. It's heaving with tourists and the prices are cooked. Head over to West End, just rock up, you'll be sweet.
That is an absolute masterclass in slang. Let's translate. Heaving means intensely crowded.
Cooked means unreasonable or overly expensive. Rock up means to arrive casually without a reservation.
And you'll be sweet means everything will be fine.
But the psychology of the initial request is what I love. By asking for somewhere not too touristy, the traveler signals they are culturally curious.
It's a psychological key that unlocks the hidden gems you won't find on TripAdvisor.
Precisely. You prove you're approachable.
Okay, we've covered the psychology and the cultural shifts. Now I want to transition into the absolute core mechanics, the cheat codes.
The advanced vocabulary ecosystem.
Yes, the specific words you need to internalize. Let's start with a pair that causes endless, expensive confusion. Layover versus stopover.
This distinction is critical. Even native speakers mess this up constantly.
Oh, I've used them interchangeably for years.
Most people do, but when booking a ticket, it matters immensely. A layover is simply a scheduled stop where you wait at an intermediate airport.
You grab a terrible coffee, sit at the gate for 3 hours, and get on the next plane.
Exactly. A stopover, however, implies a much longer deliberate break. Typically overnight or for a few days, you leave the airport and stay in a hotel.
So mechanically, if I fly New York to Tokyo, land in Seattle, and sit in the terminal for 3 hours, that's a layover.
Yes.
But if I stay in Seattle for 2 days to visit a friend before flying to Tokyo, that's a stopover.
Exactly. And airlines price these entirely differently. Some even use stopovers as a marketing tool to boost tourism.
That's a brilliant tip. Next up, direct flight versus nonstop. This one blew my mind a little bit.
It is a highly misleading industry term. A nonstop flight does exactly what the word implies. The plane takes off, never stops, and lands.
Which is what I always thought a direct flight was.
Right. But a direct flight keeps the same flight number, but the physical aircraft might actually land at an intermediate airport to refuel.
You might just sit on the tarmac for an hour.
Or be asked to deplane and reboard. It is direct in name only.
You absolutely want to know if your plane is going to randomly land somewhere else. Okay, what about reroute, red-eye, and long haul?
Reroute is your crisis vocabulary. Weather delays, mechanical failures, they physically change the planned path, like rerouting passengers through Chicago.
And a red-eye. I've always loved how visual this term is.
It's primarily North American. It refers to a flight that departs late at night and arrives very early the next morning.
You trying to sleep sitting up, and you arrive with red, sleep-deprived eyes.
Exactly. Meanwhile, long haul is heavily used in the UK and Australia. It refers to those brutal, multi-continent, 14-hour flights across oceans.
Yeah, that long-haul flight really took it out of me. Let's move to luggage, where panic usually sets in. Gate check versus carry-on.
Carry-on is a small suitcase you keep with you. But gate check is a specific scenario born out of airline economics.
Because everyone brings roller bags to save money on checked bag fees.
Exactly. So the overhead bins fill up. You arrive at the gate with a legal carry-on, but the agent announces the flight is full. Right there, they force you to hand over your bag.
They tag it, put it in the cargo hold, and you have been gate checked.
It's a nightmare if your laptop is in there.
Scrambling to pull things out while 50 people wait. And it means when you land, you're stuck waiting at the baggage claim.
Which brings us to the trinity of terminal navigation: boarding pass, connecting flight, and baggage claim.
The bread and butter terms.
Your boarding pass is the document, usually a QR code granting permission to board. Connecting flight is the next leg after a layover.
And baggage claim or baggage reclaim in the UK is where you stand at the carousel praying your bag appears. All right, you've survived the airport. Let's dive into hotel finances and services. If you don't understand these, things get confusing fast. Let's start with itinerary, amenities, and incidentals.
Your itinerary is your master travel plan. Note the pronunciation. Americans say itinerary, while the British compress it into itinerary.
Good to know. Amenities are the extras, like the pool or Wi-Fi. But incidentals, I really want to focus on this one. It's crucial for protecting your wallet.
It is vital. Incidentals refer to all the potential extra charges during your stay, separate from the room rate.
Like eating a $10 candy bar from the minibar or ordering room service?
Right, and the reason this word is so important is how hotels process it. They place a temporary financial hold on your credit card at check-in, often $50 to $100 a night.
To cover those incidentals?
Yes. If you don't know the word, you might check your banking app, see a pending $300 charge, and completely panic.
Thinking the hotel is stealing from you, knowing that word saves you from a meltdown at the front desk. Next is complimentary, which we talked about with Priya.
It just means free of charge. But they use it because free sounds cheap. Complimentary elevates the perception of the service.
A complimentary breakfast sounds way fancier than a free buffet. What about checkout versus express checkout?
To check out of a hotel means to formally conclude your stay at the desk and review your bill. Express checkout is the frictionless system where you just drop your key in a box and leave.
I love the versatility of checkout too. You check out of the hotel and then you go check out a cool museum.
It's a highly useful phrasal verb.
To wrap up hotels, let's hit 3 French borrowed terms: concierge, room service, and shuttle.
The concierge is your dedicated local expert in the lobby. Room service is food delivered to your door. And a shuttle is a shared, often complimentary vehicle operating on a set route, like between the hotel and airport.
Perfect. Our final grouping takes us out onto the streets. Off the beaten track versus touristy.
Off the beaten track or off the beaten path in North America is the holy grail. It's authentic, hidden, where the locals actually go.
As opposed to touristy, which carries a mildly negative connotation.
It implies a place has become overly commercialized, crowded, and overpriced. Like Times Square is incredibly touristy.
Finally, the unavoidable arrival terms: customs and immigration, currency exchange, travel insurance, and jet lag. People confuse customs and immigration constantly.
Simply put, immigration checks who you are, customs checks what is in your bag.
Perfect summary. Immigration checks your passport. Customs makes sure you aren't bringing in undeclared goods. Currency exchange is where you swap money, though airport kiosks have terrible rates.
Absolutely. Avoid them if you can. Travel insurance protects against financial loss for emergencies. And jet lag is that profound physical disorientation from crossing time zones.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground, but let's bring this back to reality. What does this mean for the listener? How do they actually learn this if they aren't boarding a plane tomorrow?
The first step is purely psychological. You have to sit with that uncomfortable feeling of the fluency freeze.
Just acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Struggling to understand a mumbling gate agent doesn't mean your English is bad. It just means you're encountering a fast-paced layer of language under stress. Forgive yourself for the freeze.
It's like realizing you aren't bad at swimming just because you got thrown into a storm. So what's the practical daily application?
You build a 15-minute daily habit. Go online, find a travel vlog or podcast set in the US, UK, Australia, or Canada.
And just watch it normally.
No, actively.
Yeah.
Listen specifically for this vocabulary. When the vlogger says, "We found this brilliant pub off the beaten track," hit pause.
And repeat it.
Exactly. Repeat the full sentence out loud. Shadow their exact rhythm and intonation.
You're training your ear and your muscle memory simultaneously. And you can do real-world practice without flying, right? Like eavesdropping in a local hotel lobby.
Absolutely. Go to a nice international hotel, order a coffee, and just listen to how the staff interacts with foreign guests, or go to your local airport and tune into the overhead announcements.
Decipher the codes. Or if you see tourists in your own town, give them recommendations. Tell them a cafe is a real find.
Within a few weeks of this targeted exposure, the specialized language bypasses your short-term RAM and becomes automatic.
So the words are just there when the pressure is on. Wow. We have gone on quite the journey today.
We really have.
We've explored the cognitive anxiety of the fluency freeze, traveled across 4 cultural landscapes, survived the militaristic jargon of the airport, navigated the delicate diplomacy of the hotel front desk, and learned how to talk to locals.
It's so much more than an academic exercise.
It really is. It's the key that transforms a stressful trip into a confident, seamless experience.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. Think deeply about the subtle, invisible power dynamics of travel.
Power dynamics? I love this.
When you lack the specific vocabulary of an environment, you are inherently a guest who needs to be managed, directed, and processed by the system.
Right.
But when you command the specialized language, when you fluently know the difference between standby and reroute,
Wow.
or the cultural weight of complimentary, you stop being a passive managed guest.
You instantly become an insider who collaborates with the system.
Exactly. How might your physical posture, your internal confidence, and even the level of respect you receive from service staff change on your next trip, simply because you possess the right words to unlock the experience?
It changes absolutely everything. It is the difference between freezing in panic at the immigration counter and walking through the terminal like you own the place. Thank you all for spending this time with us and taking this deep dive into the language of travel. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Safe travels, everyone.